historical from Andes on down, and that's the world's largest open-face granite quarry. You say, what's the big deal about that? They can sift outer space.
Oh, really?
Oh,
They
wow.
didn't mine it since 1889, but they only went down into it 40 to 60 feet in 135 years. Very, very incredible. All right, here's some quick early history. When they started mining in 1889 up to 1930, they built homes partially and completely out of stone. But when the Depression kicked in, the idea went south. During the Depression, that stone got so expensive, nobody could afford to build a house out of it.
Right.
So I'll point some out to you going up the street here and to show you how you can tell the pre-30 construction if it's a private residence. The church over there looks like somebody's divine design, don't it?
Yeah.
That was all accidental. I had to do my own research. See, he just started, so he's giving a wonderful tour. Most of them you give nothing.
Yeah.
Anyway, I went around town and realized the first precision cut stone church was built in 1907. So that narrowed down to it's either 1905 or 6. Somebody developed the first saw to cut that stone. So it's nothing of the quarry. Built in 1901 that I grew up in, but that was built in 1904. But after they built that in 1904, that's the very last one.
Yeah.
And we're going to see another precision cut stone church up here to the left. It was built in 1910. So we'll spend a few minutes on the quarry working our way up to the show. So, Dip, are you about ready to go?
Oh, yeah.
All right, now, citizens arrest! Citizens arrest! Where'd you go, boy? There's your legal U-turn. Citizens arrest. Write yourself a ticket. I love that episode.
Yeah.
But as you ride along, notice in some homes you'll see a little bit of stone and window sills and lintels and foundation assessment. Look over here to the left.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I love that house.
Yeah, that's
Anything
beautiful.
around mine there you see, like I was telling you, it's pre-30 construction.
Yeah.
And again, that's also the way it became known as the Granite City in the early days. But up here's a precision cut stone church a few years after they developed that first saw to cut it.
Oh, yeah.
Now you can find the stone across the nation banana. And a few years ago, my wife and I was up in Pennsylvania and we stopped at the Hershey Corporation where they make the chocolate.
Right.
While we were there, we realized they had built a brand new corporate headquarters building out of stone. Was we impressed? Well, not really. I mean, think about it. We're
Yeah.
living in Granite City,
Exactly. Y'all see that?
and every stinking corner you turn, you see something out of rock.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's no big deal to leave down there and find something out of stone. But while we stood there a few minutes at Hershey,
Yeah.
we happened to look around, and there's a big old plaque on the wall that said Stone Company's Quarry.
Oh.
So then, I was impressed.
Yeah, there you go.
And I stood there for another 2 hours like a banner rooster. And I crowed them back. Come, I said, hey, don't y'all forget this. That stone came my home. Well, I thank all of you. We'll find this thing very, very incredible.
Yeah.
And that we'll work our way up to the end of the story. Now, in 1960, when the Andy Gibbons Show come on TV, the Ford Motor Company became their corporate sponsor. And their agreement with the show was that each season that the show came back on TV, they would give them brand new patrol cars. So every year they took the old cars back in and turned them into used cars and sold them. And before Andy died, he would have told you, as far as he knows, there are no original cars left on the face of the earth for two reasons. Back then, nobody thought about hanging on to them.
Right.
But you know the biggest reason?
Right.
They were never titled to the show.
Oh, really?
And you might wonder why they titled us to the set. Well, because it didn't make sense to. Now here's why. Think about it. If you was going to title a vehicle to somebody, but in the back of your mind you know it's just a few months, you're going to get it right back. And that's a whole lot of title and paperwork and headache you shouldn't have to fool with.
Exactly.
All right, when you think about the Ford Motor Company, they probably loaned them probably a half a dozen a year, right?
Yeah.
So that would have been a hassle. So what they do, they simply let them have their vehicles with an open title. No strings attached, as loaners and demonstrators. So once they got them back at the end of the season, all they had to do was strip them down and repaint them, sold to the public, and cut out of sight, boom. That's when you lost your vehicle replacement back in the 70s. All these vehicles running around town, they're all just replicas of the same cars on the show. And if you know, which you may not, the different model changes, you can tell what season it was.
Yep.
Now this is a 63 model Galaxy, and if you see it on an episode, that's telling you it's reflected for the 60. Now, before they began mining over here at the quarry in 1889, farmers used to buy and sell this property amongst themselves, supposedly to raise crops on it. Well, that tells you there ain't sold a whole lot. Because after you bought it, it didn't take you long to figure out you cannot grow corn on rock. So for many years, this property was so worthless to anybody in the area. There were times you could actually buy it anywhere from 15 to 35 cents an acre. It was
Boy.
cheap. But in 1889, it was too
Citizen
over to the
radio.
right, and you'll see where it starts. And you might see Fred Flintstone over there. They're on the right shoulder.
I see all that, yeah.
Yabba dabba do.
Yeah, right there.
Yep.
All right, and in between the mills is the center of it. From that tree line down to that stone, that's all they went down 135 years.
Gee.
You see a lot more of it left side.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't get too far away from where I grew up.
Yeah.
I still live in behind this little patch of trees over here to the left. So all this area has been my front yard for 73 years.
Awesome.
So right where they're mining, it's been estimated to be between 6,000 and 8,000 feet deep. And they said that 500 years from now, if the earth's still standing, they'll still be mining right where they're at. That sounds impossible, don't it?
It does, but
But that's what they're saying. Now we're going to turn in the right up here, and you'll see the Oklahoma broke in, and I'll share with you the story and how that will be possible. Where's the old house? There is 11 of us in that house.
oh yeah.
Yeah, one time, see a little boy right there, he just turned it down into a lot. He'll tell you nothing. I don't know. That's what I got against the company. The guy don't care if you got drive license, let you drive.
Stone ain't even being touched, has it?
Now the
It's
walk
intact.
stays the same. There's 11 of us in the house. There's 5 of us boys at one time slept upstairs over the back bedroom.
Yeah.
5 of us in one room, same bed, same pair of underwear. Well, 2/3 of that's a lie. There was 5 of us slept in one room. There was 3 different beds. Anyway, here's a story on why this quarry is shallow. All quarries around the world are discovered on small deposits of stone. That means they got one direction to mount, straight down.
Yeah.
In any deposit, you've got to stay within a certain distance of the perimeter of that deposit, unless things start happening like it did in Salisbury, North Carolina.
Yeah.
In Salisbury, there's a rare peat mine there, and they mined that sucker forever because it was such a rare stone. But they should have stopped long before they did, because they got to the point every so often the place and the walls caved in, and the employees were dying.
No.
They were so compassionate, they waited until 32 people died before they closed it.
Man.
OSHA was not in place at that time. If it was, they had a bird that come.
Oh yeah, there was.
Now, the other reason those tight quarries are closed, the deeper they get, the more water they collect. And the more difficult and expensive it is to pump it out. So if they just quit, full of pumps,
Yeah.
and that's when they usually fill up like a swimming hole.
Yeah.
Here's a simple reason this quarry is shallow. You've seen a lot of stone. You hadn't seen nowhere near the extent of this deposit.
Yeah.
This deposit, close to the Earth's surface in solid ground, extends out from here another 8 miles long and 4 miles wide.
Gee.
It runs under my house back there. I don't have no basement. It's under the city of Mount Airy. It's on the Wally service station where we're at. It's on that tree line up there.
Yeah.
So they had the capability or the luxury of mining that any other quarry couldn't, and they strip mine back and forth, step it down.
Yeah.
That's why they could be right here another 500 years.
Yeah.
And they'll always see if from outer space it takes position as the world's largest. I got to tell you this, I don't tell this often, but this is funny. I had 4 people in here a while back, and this lady standing in the middle of the back seat, and she just really overwhelmed by the history of the quarry.
Yeah.
So I told them the same thing. I looked back, I said, now you can find this stone under my house. I said, but they could be right here another 500 years. She threw her hand up and said, sir, can I ask you a question? I said, yes, ma'am. She says, do you reckon they'll ever get that stone on your house? And I had to look away. And I thought for a minute, I said, why? And she had, I found her back and said, ma'am, 500 years from now, I really don't care. But you know, she looked at me just seriously. I see what you're talking about. It still hadn't hit her that she asked her, and she wasn't even blonde. I couldn't figure it out. But that was so funny, and she was so caught up in the information, not to make fun of her, but
Yeah.
she just wasn't thinking about what she was saying.
Exactly.
But anyway, I've seen the stone roll out this quarry my whole life to build bridges, highways, tombstones, countertops. A lot of curbing goes up north to the colder states. Then you have a lot of mausoleums and memorials across the United States, and out of FDR, New York, the Dodge Brothers in Michigan, Fort Knox, 42 buildings in Washington, D.C., and out the Outer Banks, North Carolina is the Wright Brothers Memorial at Kitty Hawk.
Oh, okay.
St. Louis, Missouri, the arch out there, all that stone come from here.
Awesome.
And I've seen it go to a lot of states that when they leave out here, don't know what it's for, to Wisconsin and Connecticut, you take Nevada, Indiana, Dallas, Texas, California, Maryland, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Probably in percentage of the states in the United States, you can find it stone in some shape, form, or fashion. But if you took in everything that was built out of it in Mount Airy through the years, you think, where in the world all that stone come from? And there was some fellow a while back, he just overwhelmed by that. He said, when I got through, he said, sir, I just write and don't believe what you just said. He said, I just write and don't believe that. I said, well, sir, I just write and don't care. And he laughed. He said, I just can't comprehend it, because he'd seen a lot of deep mines.
Exactly.
He said, I just can't comprehend it. They ain't done no more than that right there. But I said, it makes sense. I know it does. He said,
Yeah.
it's hard for me to believe.
Yeah.
So that's the story, except for one more comment. And this is where Ernest T. Bass kept his rock
You
collection.
know? I wonder if that's where he got.
Yep.
Now you know.
Now we know. Yeah. Now we know where you got them rocks. He's a rock star.
You know when I'm lying to you, okay? And I like to start off my presentation of the anniversary with Ernest T. Because a lot of people thought that he was on the show actually more than he was, but he wasn't on the 5 episodes.
5 episodes.
I
Yep.
remember that. Yeah.
Now it seemed lower, and I tell people, I said, well, see, the episode he was in, he was the center stage.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
He was the object of the episode, causing trouble, in trouble.
Yeah.
I said, and a lot of, he played such a good idiot. A lot of people thought real life guy got to be about half crazy.
Yeah.
But now Howard Morris, who played Ernest T. Bass on the show, was probably the most highly educated guy on the show.
Yeah.
really?
Oh yeah,
Now,
definitely.
Howard, who played Ernest T. Bass behind the scenes, was a writer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He was a director. He was a producer.
Mhm.
He was George, the TV reporter.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Mhm.
He was the voice for the Leonard Blush radio program episode. People didn't know that. They said, I didn't know that was him. I said, well, listen to the voices.
Yeah.
It's Leonard Blush from Mount Pilot. I said, but when he starts singing, I want to turn the volume down. Because I mean, he couldn't sing a lick. And he thought that was the greatest thing he'd ever heard because it was the episode.
Yeah. Right.
But anyway, he directed some Dick Van Dyke episodes and in one more ton of movies. So
Yeah.
Howard Morris, who played Ernest T. Bass, was probably one of the most incredible individuals in the film industry throughout his whole life.
Mhm.
And I've got a funny story about him and Aunt B. I'm going to share when it comes to the subject of directing. You get a kick out of the story later on down the road.
Okay.
Now, the show lasted from October the 3rd, 1960 till April 68. And the first #1 character to pass away when the show went on TV was Floyd the Barber,
Mhm.
Howard McNear.
Mhm.
He died early in January of 1969 from complications of strokes.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you kept up with the series, you could actually see his health decline
Yep.
Yeah.
because the first 3 seasons he was really active on set.
Yeah.
And then in 63, at some point, has a stroke, no documented date, and it paralyzed his left side to where he can never walk again like he did start with. Well, they took him off the show to begin with,
Yeah.
but that didn't sit well with Andy.
Yeah.
Because Andy loved that man to death in the role that he played as Barber. So after recovering to where he could, he brought him back on the show. When he first started seeing him again, basically still going to be sitting in his chair.
Yep.
Yeah.
And out front on the bench, in the courthouse, in cars.
Yeah.
And at first, he gained some strength back where he could stand next to his barber chair, command his hair in the
Yeah.
courthouse, close to the wall,
Yeah.
down the loo. But he could never walk across the floor with confidence or stand in the middle of the floor with confidence.
Right. Yeah.
There's a good chance he's going to fall. That
Mhm.
left side was still that weak.
Right.
Now, what strength he gained back after that stroke, he began to lose again because when 67,
Mhm.
he got a lot weaker.
Mhm.
He began to slur a lot more, and he started having a lot of trouble remembering his lines.
Yeah.
And so they finally at one point had to take him off the show.
Yeah.
Now, your next character, actress, in this case that passed away, was Frances Bouvier, or Aunt B. And she was born and raised in New York in 1902, but she retired and settled in Siler City, North Carolina in 1974.
Yeah.
She bought a 17-room, 5-bath mansion, sight unseen. Lived there for 15 years till she died in 1989. And when she died, she left a house full of cats and a 66 Studebaker with full flat tires.
Oh boy.
Now, Frances never married.
Yeah.
She had no family. Her cats was her family.
Yeah.
And they said that she had a slew of cats.
Oh, really?
Now, she lived in one room of the house and the cats had the rest. Now, I like cats and I got one.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah.
But I'm not staying in a house that's full of cats.
No.
And they said it was one more mess than one that she died too. Now, Andy used to do interviews and share with you stories about Frances. What a tremendous actress she was, because in real life, she was ornery as an old bull, a 100% recluse, and she hated Andy. And Andy said, I don't know what her problem was. And at the very beginning, she just didn't like me.
Yeah.
Now, we was talking about Ernest T. a while ago. She didn't like him either, but to look at the character, the man behind the character, Howard Morris, who was one of the men who directed the show. But when it was Howard's turn to direct an episode, and she was going to be in it, you could definitely count on sparks.
Yeah.
Now, shortly after she died, I called him on TV doing the interview. He was talking about working with her. He said, I can remember a day just like it was yesterday. He said, I was directing the scenes, and everything's going on fine. I said, now just stop for a moment. He said, something I do all the time in my directing on set, and the only thing I know is ask her to do something different. He said, she got all up his face and jumped out his person. You're just making me move because I'm fat. Said she was very argumentative and offensive. She know one thing about her when you still working with her, you realize she was working with one of those greatest actors.
Yeah.
And probably one of the most highly trained on the show because she had 25 years of she rose up.
No.
And so she had sort of a problem with more than just one person on the show.
Yeah.
Now, all those stories are told not to be demeaning to her.
Right.
They just knew that most people thought in real life that Frances Bouvier was a sweet dear, elderly, grandmother type person.
Yeah.
Similar to the character on the show. No, I'm telling you. In reality, in real life, she was a grumpy old gal. Now, something she did very commendable before she died. She wasn't quite 88 years old when she died in 89. Just maybe like 7 or 8 days.
Yeah.
She was 87, but 4 months before then. She got a hold of Andy, said, Andy, she said, I want to apologize to you. He said, for what? She said, well, I felt like I was hard to work with on the show, and I was very unkind to you at times. Would you please forgive me? He said, Francis, you know, we no apology. So that's part of the show business, part of the work. Says, please don't fret about that.
Yeah.
And I had to commend him for going about this gentleman, not a jerk. There's people in this world that would throw it back in her face
Yeah.
and blessed her out, but he didn't do that.
Yeah.
Plus, think about her. How many people close to 90 years old that's not set in their ways and wouldn't do that if you held a gun to their head?
Yeah.
But she humbled down at the age of 87 and looked in the mirror and said, you know what, said, I was wrong, I got to get this right.
Yeah.
So 4 months before she died, her and Nanny got some things ironed out. And I thought that overall was a tremendous testimony about
It is.
both of them.
Yep.
It is.
Really a great testimony.
That's good. Man.
All right, we're going to go through this light and take a right into the 8 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
All right, don't be turning in front of me. Oh, that's all right, you're going that way, I'm going the other way.